Welcome to the latest bite-sized Bible breakdowns. This week, I look at one of the most interesting books in the Hebrew Bible, the book of Daniel. Daniel is widely regarded by biblical scholars to have been the last book written around 165 BCE during or shortly after the Maccabean Revolt. As the Maccabean Revolt was an existential fight over the Jewish identity, Daniel is the only book of the Old Testament that is fully apocalyptic in genre, as the traditional Jews feared their culture was being annihilated. Thus, Judaism underwent a significant theological transformation because of the new beliefs put forth in Daniel. Let's dive in. The book of Daniel generated a significant change in the course monotheism would take, of which most followers of the Abrahamic religions are completely in the dark about beliefs they take to be original to their Jewish roots. Daniel was written during the violence of a major crackdown on Judaism by the Seleucids, a Hellenistic dynasty founded by one of Alexander's generals that governed the eastern half of the former Macedonian Empire from modern-day Syria. The last Seleucid ruler, Antiochus IV Epiphanes, banned certain Jewish practices, like circumcision, that to the philosophically Hellenized mind seemed barbaric. Sophisticated and educated elite urban Hellenized Jews were attracted to Greek philosophy and were eager to embrace contemporary modernity, but this shift away from the more traditional faith of the rural masses, and especially the challenge to the status quo of the temple priesthood, threatened to annihilate the Jewish identity. The repression of Jewish practices ultimately led Judah Maccabee, a dynastic temple priest, to revolt to save their culture from this existential threat. Or, as our dearly missed polemicist Christopher Hitchens wrote in a Slate article, thus to celebrate Hanukkah is to celebrate not just the triumph of tribal Jewish backwardness, but also the accidental birth of Judaism's bastard child in the shape of Christianity. Without the precedents of Orthodox Judaism and Roman Christianity, on which it is based and from which it is borrowed, there would be no Islam either. When the fanatics of Palestine won that victory, and when Judaism repudiated Athens for Jerusalem, the development of the whole of humanity was terribly retarded. It was the desperation traditional Jews felt during this time that fueled the book of Daniel's ominous tone and instituted the new beliefs in a heavenly afterlife. It is in Daniel 12, the only passage in the whole of Hebrew Scripture that refers to individual resurrection, where ideas of the afterlife were born. For the very first time in Hebrew literature, this passage implied the righteous will be transported to heaven. Consequently, the writer of Daniel envisioned that the always delayed messianic kingdom on earth was changed to the messianic kingdom of an afterlife in heaven. This messianic shift in focus to an afterlife would also be copied by later Christians when the prophecy of the coming kingdom proclaimed by Jesus would appear within the lifetimes of the apostles failed to materialize. However, what to do with the not-so-righteous or putting them in hell would have to wait for the New Testament. John Collins, Yale professor of Old Testament criticism, notes how the late Second Temple era Jewish development of belief in an afterlife, driven by the existential angst of believing their culture was in danger of being assimilated out of existence, fundamentally altered the development of both Judaism and Christianity, but also its incorporation into Islam. Additional changes came out of Daniel, such as a resurgence of the messianic belief and the new messianic paradigm, the Son of Man, which will be discussed in detail in a future video reviewing another book by Professor Collins. Thanks for watching. Please check out the other videos on my channel if history is your thing, and see you next time.